I want to try to capture how wonky the power steering pump setup on these. This is a late 22 RE in a Toyota pickup, and the steering pump, power steering pump, excuse me, lives right there and runs off the accessory belts as you'd expect. However, it's got an insanely complex system of brackets holding it on. The pump itself is held to the mounting bracket, which is covered in the Haynes manual by just these four bolts. One here, and two up front. There are 3 brackets that hold the pump up. I'm going to get it back out of the way there. We have 5 bolts, so can you see? Right there, we've got this one which holds the idler and idler and tensioner, which get to be adjusted there. 2 bolts on this end attached to another bracket, which are this one. This one actually holds the pump itself. You can see the 4 bolts right there. 1, 2, 3, 4. And those 2 bolts right there hold onto the idler. And these 3 right here around my thumb are where it actually attaches to the head. So 1, 2, one underneath the distributor, and mine I believe was grounded. I think this is the alternator. For some reason it's grounded right here. So there's 3 there, but wait, there's still another one. There's this bracket, which somehow gets attached to all that and sort of actually straddles the alternator here. Like that. Something like that. And there's a bolt down here in the block that is... I want to show you that bolt right there. Am I doing this wrong? Like that. And that sort of straddles the coolant pipe like that and over the alternator, and it's just held on by that one down the block. Then that one mates up with this one, which actually holds the power steering pump, and the idler is another bracket. So that's a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bolts holding it to the block and head, and then intermediary bolts 1 and 2, 3 at the very least. Yeah, can you still see that? That's on that bracket which holds the pump itself, and then you got the four holes for the bolt, or excuse me, that hold the actual pump on. So that's a total of like 9 or 11 bolts holding that thing up. I'm swapping the long block from a car that did not have the power steering, so I'm doing my best to make the power steering pump fit onto this thing. You can tell that is that lower mounting bolt, and that has not been used, so I need to clean up those threads. I've already cleaned up the threads on that one. I've already run down the threads with a tap on that one, which is the upper head, and this one is also long, of the 5 that attach it to the block. And 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I've also cleaned those out. I'm actually also going to blow some air through there because I still see some chips down at the bottom. You see that? Sorry, I'm getting used to this camcorder. Yeah, there's chips down there and some oil still at the bottom. But yeah, there's 5 bolts which hold it on. There's like an extra. There's 5 which hold the head and block. There is 3, I think, which hold the brackets together, and then there's an extra 4 bolts which hold the power steering pump right about there. Right about there. So it's a lot. I'm hoping that's all that is needed. I think that it should just adapt perfectly to the accessory pulley there. And this truck did not have. Neither of these trucks had air conditioning too, but I think the air conditioning lives over here when you have that. It's a lot of brackets. It's very confusing. Yeah, that's it. Here are the bolts that I need also to clean up the threads on. These are the ones that attach it to the block. I'm not worrying so hard about the ones that hold the brackets together. But the long one, like I said, is the one that was going into the aluminum part of the head. Or excuse me, in the front of the head. And then the 3 and the lower one were all the same length. So 1, 2, 3, and then I've got an extra lower one somewhere. This one I've already cleaned the threads up on. So yeah, that's that. The tap that you want is M10 1.25. M10 1.25 there. And that will clean up those threads. I guess, you know, actually, since I'm filming this, I will hopefully upload also record a progress or a success or failure if it is easily adaptable. I'm pretty sure it is. It's just you need to bolt the thing up, and then the long block can just go in there where your other one was. So yeah, I will see you later. These are the chips blown out of the holes, except for the bottom one, which I still haven't cleaned. Here's our block prepared. The 5 bolt holes that the power steering brackets go into have been run down with the tap and cleaned and blown out with compressed air, and crucially, while wearing safety glasses on that, so I don't get any pieces of metal shooting up into my eyes. And I want to go ahead and start to try assembling this bracket just so you can get a really good picture of what it's supposed to go together like. So here's that lower one that's really hard to see with the engine in the vehicle. That lower, the iron bracket is where, or excuse me, this bracket goes into the block there, into the iron. I don't believe there are any special washers on that, it was just holding it up. This guy did have a special washer, but let's go ahead and figure out what is next. I think next we have the big one, which attaches to the block and also holds stuff up. Okay, so that is where this guy goes. And also, what am I missing here? Let's go ahead and just bolt it onto here just so I can get an idea and start to play with it from there. And if again, if I remember correctly, the long of these bolts is saved for the front where the idler is attached. Okay, those guys are loosely in there. And there is a torque value, but you'll want to save that for later, look that up in the book. I'll tell you in a minute here once I look it up myself. This guy chunky that is. I didn't clean those threads at all. Okay, and the power steering pump, like I said, brackets into these, connects to the bracket there. And I want to go take a look at this alternator bracket and just make sure make absolutely sure that it's not different. But it looks like zoom in here. Where is that thing? Okay, I gotta take you off. Here's that lower bracket, and it sort of straddles over the top of the alternator bracket here. So those are 2 pieces of metal just super close together, which is crazy in my opinion, but there you go. Get her done. And again, this is all loose. Now I'm going to run over to the truck and just make sure that the alternator from my dead engine bracket is the same. Let's go take a look at that. There's that. I want to say it was just really similar. I should have a measuring tape or something on me, but I want to say that that's just really tightly in there. And it just sort of rides up over that lower bracket, just sort of rides up and straddles right over here. So tight and weirdly in there. It's about halfway in the alternator adjustment. I forgot the alternator is also the tensioner for the main accessory belt, which goes from there to the water pump to the alternator. And this alternator is this pump is somewhat new, so hopefully I don't blow the seal on that if I over tighten this. I'm going to try to be mindful of that. Okay, finally we have the front idler which goes there. So let me pull these guys. You still see? Hold on. Yeah, you can still see. Those two, and then the long bolt. At least, like I said, this is the one. This is the long bolt that how it was built on my engine, which I've been in before for a head gasket replacement. So I may have gotten the bolts confused. I don't know. Doesn't seem to have broken anything. That was about 20,000 miles ago. Long bolts. There's that one. Snugged up there, there, there. And this bottom one needs to be sort of snug. And then this one is shared. Oh, that's so accurate. This guy is sandwiched but shared between the brackets that are on the power steering pump itself. So into the block we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bolts going in. There's 3 different brackets, 1, 2, and 3. This lower hidden one, which was very tricky for me when I first did this. When I first got into this engine, I did it in the engine bay and was doing a head gasket, and at a certain point I had this guy just floating around. I had no idea what it was for, but they must have deemed it important enough to be in there. So I will go ahead and grab a torque wrench, and I guess we'll go ahead and torque it now. Alright, well, I spent way too long looking through the Haynes book for the actual torque spec, so I'm just going to do the right thing because I couldn't find it, and I'm going to set it to 27 foot-pounds on each. Let's do all the body ones first, or onto the block ones first. But this will be fine for now. Can get that one. Yes, I can. That'll be fine. Cool, and I didn't actually count the bolts fully, so 1, 5 attaching to the block, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I was one off. There's 12 bolts holding that power steering pump on. So I'm confident that for the, under 5,000, 10,000 miles that I'll be using this temporary block, I shouldn't have any problems. So double check that we're recording. We are recording, so there. Here goes nothing. Our dome light is on. On the new long block, we are at 204,138 miles. Battery reads good. Oil pressure is good. Exhaust is quiet. Wow, that sounds quiet. Oh my god. I think I can even hear the injectors. I thought I might have had a leaky clutch slave cylinder, but maybe that's okay. Wow, it is quiet. Burning off some stuff from the exhaust, as you can probably see there. No squeal from the belts. I'm gonna check the power steering as much as I can with the club on. Feels light. Nice.